Welcome to Slasher Sunday. So, before we get started, let's talk about the Funko Pops we just picked up since I threw them up on the table.
Yeah.
We got Patrick Bateman.
We have Pennywise with the Welcome to I Love Dairy balloon.
Yeah.
This one's really cool.
They had two options on Pennywise. They had Pennywise the Dancing Clown, which was like the new one, and it was like he had flames around him, and it was like $20.
Yeah.
This one was only 12, and I actually prefer it with the balloon.
I do too.
The Pennywise looks pretty much the same. He's just in a different pose. The one he's like more dancing in the other one, obviously.
Yeah.
But the face is pretty much exactly the same. And I have to say, yeah, I'm more of a fan of the balloon.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Me too. And then
Spiky.
Spiky.
Yeah. So Spiky, and we also have Shorty, of course.
So.
And
we'll get Slim.
We will.
Urban Jumbo.
Oh, they don't make Slim.
I don't know.
Just Jumbo? We're gonna have to look that up because I thought that Slim got it too. So, that's a bummer. Oh, okay. But Jumbo, all right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be on the lookout. So, do you guys collect Pops?
Yeah.
And which ones do you got? We've got quite a few.
We do.
And my daughters collect Stranger Things Pops, and I think they currently have 93 or 95.
They have a ton.
And they're like, some of them are up to $100 a piece.
Yeah.
Like they're ridiculous. We spend their mom, honestly, and their stepfather spends more on it than we do, but that's because
it's at their house.
It is. So I'm like not as apt to buy them, but I do. I've probably bought, I don't know, 15 or 20 of them, and they've bought the rest. So, but some of them have cost me a pretty penny. So, anyways, let's talk about Bad Dreams. And yes, we did watch the VHS, and I will say, this VHS that we have is in mint condition.
Yes,
like it had no static. It looked super clean for VHS. I mean, it's as clean as VHS is going to look, but I was really impressed with the quality of this CBS Fox VHS. So I don't know. I'd have to put in other CBS Fox. The only other one that like I'm like almost positive is CBS Fox one is like Die Hard. But I'd have to look at others to see, because I don't know I don't know why. I don't know if it's the quality of the tape. I don't know if it's like how many times it's been played. I don't know about like if there's any kind of like degradation to it from like heat or magnetism or age or whatever. But this one's from the 80s, as well as a lot of my other ones are. So but we've watched quite a few VHS together on the same player.
Yeah,
this is easily the cleanest VHS we've ever watched.
Yeah, it looked really good, honestly. Like, it's not a perfect compared to like a DVD or a Blu-ray, of course, but it still looked really clean.
So this does come on a double pack. I think it's a Scream Factory. It comes with the Michael Ironside movie Visiting Hours. And if I can find that for a decent price, like if I could pick it up for like $10, I absolutely will, because I hadn't seen this movie in a while, and I'm gonna say, man, I thought this was really damn good. I thought this was great.
Yeah, me too.
I was really into this one.
I was too. I was kind of expecting another like Just by Dawn or Just Before Dawn.
Yeah.
And like, even though we didn't dislike that one or anything, I just was kind of expecting another quality along that line.
Yeah.
And this isn't that. This is actually a really good film. It's very unique as far as the premise goes. I thought that was really unique, and quite enjoyed like the acting and like the scare setups. It sort of reminds me, obviously, with like Bad Dreams. I think it has some like Nightmare vibes, but it's different, of course.
Yeah, so of course, I think the thing this movie is going to get compared to the most is Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors. Yeah. And there's a few obvious reasons why. Obviously, it takes place in a mental institution, right? You have the group sessions like you do in Nightmare 3. And then the most obvious glaring one is that Cynthia is played by Jennifer Rubin, who plays Taryn in Nightmare on Elm Street 3. So she's one of the main characters of Nightmare on Elm Street 3. She plays the main character in this movie. And of course, it's like the fourth and maybe even more like it. You have like a guy who's coming and killing people in their dreams.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it's obviously very similar. This is 1988. So this is probably, I think this is probably the year after Nightmare on Elm Street 3, because I want to say Nightmare on Elm Street 3 is 1987.
I don't know. I'll look it up.
Can we confirm that?
You're probably right, because you're basically like a walking
No,
IMDb
I'm not 100% on that, because I'm not like a Nightmare expert, for sure.
1987.
Oh, I guess I am.
So you are.
So this is, okay, can we confirm, though, that Bad Dreams is 88, because the tape says 88.
Oh, yeah, let's see.
So does Taryn, Jennifer Rubin, does she?
Yeah, 88.
88. Okay.
She's like,
so,
I only do movies about people getting killed in their dreams.
Yeah, it's different enough that I don't mind how close it is, but it's hard not to compare it with so many elements being similar, right? And having the literal same actress.
Yeah.
It definitely makes it feel like, were you guys ripping it off? It's literally the next year. It's the same premise for the most part.
But it's also...
And it's got the same actress. That's hard to argue that the studio wasn't
a little
inspired.
Bit aping from it. So what I was meaning about the premise being unique, because obviously we just compared it to, Dream Warriors, but the premise that I think is unique is that, like, this is a situation where the cult is, like, a real threat. Like, I don't know. I thought that was neat.
Plus, this one is much more realistic.
Yeah.
Right? Because obviously we're talking about spoilers.
Yeah.
Obviously, because in the end, we find out that this doctor, and this actually kind of reminds me a tiny bit. There's probably a better comparison, but this is just off the top of my head. Dr. Sartan from Halloween 2018, right? Who's like very obsessed with his work and is willing to like kill people to like prove his points.
Yeah.
And you've got our doctor here, who's a very familiar face that I've seen in plenty of other movies. The main doctor here, he is drugging these kids to make them kill themselves and die, so that he can like prove his theory. And it's like super screwed up,
really,
of course,
really screwed
but like.
Up.
That makes it so that it is plausible, right? It's not some like dream killer who comes in, like Freddy or something, where it's like, okay, that's not believable, but like it's still fun. It's just not believable. This ends up, even though the movie plays out as like, oh, this is unbelievable. In the end, you're like, oh, these guys were just doped, like super doped up, and saw what the doctor made them see through suggestion and drugs.
I love that scene too when I was just trying to look at his name, but he plays like the main male protagonist.
The dude from Reanimator.
Yeah, Dan from Reanimator. I love the scene when he goes to the pharmacist and the pharmacist is like, I've never even seen this. Like, you take this like a normal person, you'll talk to vegetables for the rest of your life.
That was a really
and,
funny
like,
scene.
That was really funny because it was so intense. It was like all the drugs that you wouldn't give even sane people, they're giving people who do have legitimate mental illness.
Sure.
But
making them crazy.
Making them so much crazier. Yeah.
Shout out to that actor, because he's Wally from Tales from the Crypt Presents Demon Knight.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's right. You were very excited about that. It was cool to see him.
Love that film.
And then also Francis. Right?
Oh, well, of course.
In this.
Don't ever call him that.
He did great. I actually thought his performance was one of the best in the film. He was like scary, like really scary.
Of course, she's referring to Dean Cameron, who is most famously known as playing Chainsaw or Francis Grimm from Summer School. But he is also in this film as well, which is why I own this film and why I have this film anyway is because of what a massive fan of Summer School I am. And I'm like, if Dean Cameron's in it, I'm definitely watching it. But you're right. I mean, he's fantastic in it.
Such a, I don't know that I've seen him in anything else other than Summer School, so that was like my only point of reference. But obviously, his character in that is much like sillier, and
Much.
In this, I think he really played a crazy person very well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I liked everybody's performance. I liked all the other people that she was in group with. Like, I was really interested in them. The one chick,
Elizabeth Daily?
the black girl that was like that was like mourning her and was like very like she spoke really cryptically and like
she reminded
like poetry
me,
kind of.
Funny enough, it's not Nightmare 3, but she reminds me of the girl in Nightmare 4, the black girl who has like the lung issue.
Yeah.
And he's like, you want to suck face?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, like, drains her and she can't breathe. She kind of looked like her. Just because of like the glasses and her hair and everything. But anyway, it just reminded me of her.
I thought she was super adorable, and I don't know, she's just one that I noticed. But the just I don't know, it was a really unexpected, like something that I enjoyed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was referencing earlier when she was trying to guess that actress, and I said Elizabeth Daily, it was like, yeah, Elizabeth Daly's in here from Valley Girl and Better Off Dead.
Yeah.
And of course, I think what most people probably recognize her from would be Pee-wee's Big Adventure as Dottie. I'm a rebel Dottie, a loner. Shout out to Pee Wee Herman, who just died, Paul Rubin. That was a big blow for me, for sure. He's definitely my childhood.
Yeah.
Pee-wee's Playhouse was like definitely something I watched a good amount as a kid. So, yeah, he was 70. I didn't realize that, and he had a private bout with cancer. So, a lot of people like to keep that to themselves and just shockingly die out of nowhere on us, right? Like Chadwick Boseman from Black Panther and whatever. It's just like, wait, what? They were sick,
right?
Like they don't even announce it.
Yeah,
they just die. That was rough. But anyways, we've also got Richard Lynch in here, who plays our main antagonist, Harris, who, is dead at the beginning of the movie, and he haunts her, and the doctor, like, makes her think that her cult leader's coming after her. Now, I've seen this guy in plenty of things, but he really has that, like, super unsettling, creepy vibe and look to him.
Yeah, he was freaking me out a lot in this film. I feel like every time he was on screen, and a lot of it was like the way his character was interacting with Cynthia, but like I think he looks scary. I think he has a really intense face and like really intense eyes.
Yeah.
And he also has a face that, like, not to be mean or anything, it's not that he's ugly, but he has like one of those like kind of unique, odd looking faces.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And so I just found that to be like even more unsettling. Seeing him burned too when he popped up with his the effects makeup, that looked really good. Did we already say that's obviously another reference to like
that a burn
Freddy
victim is coming after him? No, we didn't.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
So
yeah, there's another one.
Yeah,
literally. I mean, he's burned to death, and he's coming after her from the grave as a burn victim. Shit, I didn't even think of that. That's a great point. This is a ripoff. After you said that,
it is.
It's like,
Bad Dreams is the bootleg Nightmare on Elm Street, but with cults instead of a child, like, pedophile.
Might not be a child pedophile, but he's definitely a child murderer, right?
Yes,
because they light a baby on fire in this.
Yeah, when we get the flashbacks, like when we see the cult like pouring the gasoline on them, like he pours it on him, and then it like I think it spouts out of like hoses or something at them, right? But there's like there's like a family, like a young, there's a baby and like their parents.
He's
and
like
parents
baptizing them in gasoline.
Yeah, and they're all so. I mean, but that's just it. I think that's what we've talked about it before in other films where cults are involved. Like, it's terrifying because they exist in real life. murder cults especially exist. And it's so sad to see like what would be normal people getting wrapped up into some delusion from like a narcissist, basically. So yeah, I just thought it was really cool to have the cult aspect of this film be a genuine threat, because I think that, like, I don't know, a lot of times it's not always like the cult, it's like something different.
Pardon the interruption. I had to adjust something. Okay. But yeah, so it's a ripoff for sure. But we actually have some pretty talented people behind the camera. So the director of this actually directed The Craft.
Oh wow.
Is interesting.
That's a fantastic film. Such a classic.
And the writer on this movie wrote Commando, Running Man, Die Hard 1 and 2, 48 Hours 1 and 2, and some Van Damme movies, including Street Fighter, which isn't the best work. But I was just like looking at this writer's work, and I was like, whoa, this guy really
action?
Yeah, this guy's really written a lot.
He's like, but I'm going to write a horror real quick.
I mean, that's usually how people start.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
But Die Hard actually would have come before this.
Oh, yeah.
So he went from Die Hard to this. Even Commando would have came before this, and Running Man. So, yeah,
that's cool. That's really cool.
This is.
I mean, it makes sense that competent people are working on this film, because we've been saying it's really good.
Yeah, because Die Hard's like 86, I want to say, and then Commando's like 84 or something. Don't quote me on this, but you probably could. I usually am right, but sometimes I'm wrong. So, of course, this movie also deals with something that we were talking about in another movie I just watched recently. Something we were just watching recently, but this is like survivor's guilt personified.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I think it was like a movie we saw in the theater.
You know what it was? It was the short film that you watched on the live stream you did by yourself.
Right. That's right.
That was excellent. There was a short film we watched. Yeah, it was about survivor's guilt. But yeah, this is definitely a huge theme in the movie. She feels a lot of survivor's guilt for having not died when the rest of her family did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, she obviously, when you're raised in a cult, you condition your brain, and you literally like create this reality that that this belief is very true to you.
Yes.
So and we've talked about this before, but like I think that's something that I really will always want to impress upon people, is that no one is immune
to propaganda,
to cults,
to
propaganda, right? Like you think you are, but I think we just talked about this in a video just a few videos ago, where I was just like, the stronger you feel about like, oh, I could never be in a cult, the more susceptible to a cult you are.
Right.
The more susceptible to propaganda you are, because you're not being honest with yourself. It's very easy to play upon people's fears, to prey upon people's desire to feel included, and to have some kind of like, because if you look at the history of cults, if you look at like the Manson chicks, right, or Jonestown or anything, these are just people who are lost and want to find a sense of purpose and community, and it's very easy to prey upon people who feel like they need direction.
Yeah.
And it's just, cult leaders are very good at targeting people who need what they're selling.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, because there was something that I saw recently about how like serial killers, like I think it was Bundy that they were like talking about, that he said he could pick out his victims by the way they walked. Like he could just tell who was like a perfect victim by that. And I think it's a similar scenario with, like if somebody's narcissistic, like they are basically a predator. Like so it's almost like they're trained to find the people who would be most susceptible, and like whoever the weakest person is, that would fall for their charm and charisma and all of that. And it's scary because you don't think that you would be that person, but life circumstances can make you into a weaker version of yourself than you normally are, and there's so many different factors. So it's really sad. And especially when there's like kids, which we've talked about how there's a baby that dies in this, but in real life there are plenty of people who have children and are in these communities. And to think of like kids are so impressionable, and to have all that information being fed into them of like whatever, we're the last real people and the world is going to end, or whatever nonsense it is that they're spouting, like it might not be objectively true, but the lies that you tell yourself and whatever it is that you tell yourself really does become your reality. Your brain will believe it.
Absolutely.
And that can affect you on so many different levels.
I mean, basically every religion on earth is a cult to a degree,
sure,
right? I mean, you're filling your head with basically fantasy because there is no proof of it.
Yeah.
So you're telling yourself like Jesus or Allah or Krishna or Buddha or whoever, fill in the blank. It's all just conditioning from whatever age it's, impressed upon you, and you believe it because it got you when you were impressionable. And that can be when you're a child. That can be when you are an adult and you feel like that you're directionless, that you're rudderless, and you need that kind of focus. You need that kind, and everybody gravitates towards other things for other reasons.
Yeah.
Right? Some people need it for, we don't need to go down the laundry list of reasons why people need religion or any of those things, but any belief that you hold that is not grounded in fact, that you don't have tangible evidence for, is cult-like thinking. And it's not, and when I say that, I think people always see that as a negative stand. I'm not trying to say it in a negative way, but it's that same kind of mentality of like, I hold this to be like the defined truth.
Yeah.
This is the absolute truth to me, even though I have no proof. Even though I know in the very back of my mind, I'm not sure, but I do believe it, and that's very cult-like mentality.
Yeah.
And some people, it really benefits them, and it's a very positive thing. And other people, it holds them back and makes their life super miserable.
Yeah.
And we all are just looking for our place in the universe, right?
Yeah.
And people like this, as crazy as they seem, because how many people have been killed in the name of whatever religion that's supposed to be good, whether it's Crusades or whatever. You go down the list of all these different things that were supposed to be in the name of good, and you're like, oh, how could cults like this be so awful? They kill themselves and this and that. I mean, Jesus was literally like born to die, like to be freaking tortured and murdered, right? That sounds very culty,
so awful,
right? Like, so anyways, I just, when cults get brought up, I think we are always like, oh my God, these crazy people.
Sure.
But I mean, then you end up, you're going to church later that day.
Yeah. Yeah. We were definitely like talking about it when we were watching some true crime documentaries about various like cults, and it was something that we were just like, no way, like there's no way we could fall for that. But all it takes is the right one, like you might not fall for the religious cult, but maybe you'd fall for some other version, I
would fall for the cult that's
like, we could fix your anxiety. We could fix your digestive problems.
Yeah, they could fix my anxiety. That would be a big one. But I was going to go more of this on the side of like, we want to get you away from this society that values money and these made up systems where people value themselves higher than you because of a number on a screen. And like, there's so many things in our society that I absolutely loathe. And just the wealth inequality, the wealth income inequality in this country. And don't get me started on my politics, but like, I could 100% find myself in some kind of commune where we're trying.
That's like every cult. Every cult is like, let's break away from society.
I know. That's why I'm saying, like,
get it.
Would I go? Probably not.
Right.
But
you would be tempted
if it was sold well enough. I don't know. I couldn't take my kids there though, because I wouldn't have the trust. I'd be like, I'll do it, but my kids ain't doing it.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, all right. So this movie's got a good soundtrack.
Yes.
Got a lot of good tunes, a lot of good music. You know, both of the score and of the actual music in the film. The movie even ends with "Sweet Child of Mine," which was pretty surprising to hear. I was like, wow, this seems like a lower budgeted film. And they got a Guns N' Roses song when Guns N' Roses were at like the height of their career. It just seems like the song that would be expensive to get.
Yeah, it does. I don't know. Maybe it was less expensive. Maybe Guns N' Roses was like, we just want our music in movies, so
no.
Here you go.
No. Guns N' Roses would be so massive in 1988. So the only thing I would wonder is if like the studio that made this was like some subsidiary of whatever record label they were a part of.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah.
Like if that company also owned the company that had access to Alice in Chains or Alice in Chains. Freaking
Guns N' Roses.
Guns N' Roses.
Maybe somebody that worked on the film like was friends with the dudes from Guns N' Roses.
Yeah. Axl Rose directed the movie. No. He definitely did not. All right. I like the opening with like obviously the cult burning themselves, but then like the dreams are done like cult interviews. Yeah. I thought that we were going to do more of that in this movie, but I'm glad we didn't because I really enjoyed what we got. Something we didn't mention is that Cynthia wakes up from a coma after having been in one for 13 years. So it's been a long time since her cult died. This isn't like fresh, but for her it's fresh.
For her it's
because
super fresh.
When you go into a coma, from what I understand, it's like just kind of going to sleep and waking up, and then you're missing 13 years. So for her it was like yesterday, but for everyone else it's like, you know, like past memory.
I definitely wonder because like how old is she in this?
Distant memory. I don't know. That's a hard one to gauge. I'll say in the opening she's supposed to be like 14, and in this she's, you know, in the flash forward she's like 27.
So
that makes sense.
It would be really, I don't know if we maybe talked about this before in films where there's somebody in a coma, but if you went in a coma when you were a child and you came out of it almost 30, like that would be such a weird situation. I don't know how you're able to bridge like the age you are internally, like inside, versus your exterior age. I think she handles it really well. She seems like totally fine that she's a woman.
If you went into a coma when you were 10, and you woke up when you were 25, 26, and you were out of the coma for like a few months and like trying to piece your life together, would it be like pedophilia for someone of her age to have sex with her?
I mean, I guess it depends on how.
Because she's mentally 10. Yeah. Because we've talked about this before, right? Like it's not as much of, I don't know. People seem to only care about the physical, because when it comes to stuff like vampire stuff, like Twilight and whatever, like Edward is 1,000% like a pedophile.
Yes.
for Bella in that movie. She's like 16
Yeah.
and he's like 130 years
That's
old.
like every
But
supernatural
because they look
romance.
the same age, no one cares.
Yeah.
And it's like, so if a guy stayed 17 physically, or even like, you know, whatever age, it's physically, and he kept sleeping with women that age for, you know, 60 years,
I think
people don't care as much because it is supernatural, so it's hard to say for sure, but like, and no one's ever looked that young forever. But right. If we ever cure age, if we ever are in a place where doctors cure how, like, that we don't ever look any older than like a certain age, that will definitely change the way we perceive a lot of shit.
I think that if she, like, so if somebody's 10 inside and they are still stuck in that mental state, I do think it would be manipulative for an adult to try and be in a romantic relationship with them. And I think it would be extremely irresponsible and abusive to do. So.
Right, but it wouldn't be illegal.
Technically, it would not be illegal, but I do think it would be morally wrong to do.
Sure.
I think it would be basically the same thing as trying to have a relationship with a 10-year-old.
I agree.
Because of.
But at what point does she get back to her life? Because she's now 25, 26.
I know.
And she's going to want to date.
I mean, she's going to just have to grow up really fast. She's not going to be able to date
12-year-olds.
Yeah. But
but she might be attracted to 12-year-olds.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. It would be bizarre. But that's not really super addressed in this at all.
No.
In fact, the doctor, Dan from Reanimator, what's his character's name in this? Dr. Alex Carmen, is like in love with her.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, she's gorgeous. She's definitely a beautiful, like a timeless beauty. Yeah, she's just got really, really stunning eyes, and she's really pretty. But yeah, he's like in love with her. So, and he confesses his love. I don't think, I did not get the sense that she felt anything like that towards him at all. I feel like the entire film is her trying to make sense of what's happening, and like her visitations from, you know, the cult leader Harris, and just like trying to understand all that's going on.
Yeah.
And I really like the dream sequences in this. I think they're done super effectively, because there was a few times that I thought like that was really happening, and then it would be a dream fake out, which I think a lot of people hate those in movies, but because of the context of this film, it's literally called Bad Dreams. They are necessary, and there are consequences. Like, the dreams do have real life effects, much like Nightmare.
I don't know. I'm on the fence for sure about this. In one way, yeah, I don't like that the film it retcons its own actions. I'm not a big fan of that kind, but because the movie is literally Bad Dreams, and this is about a guy who controls people through their dreams, and what they're doing in their dreams isn't real. But it is if they do it to themselves, right? So they end up killing themselves. But with the doctor scene, I don't know. It's a weird one, because like on one hand, I do want, like, when the doctor Alex, when he like kills the other doctor, which is an interesting scene, because I don't know if that's like his natural instincts telling him like he's the villain. You got to kill this guy, or you got to expose this guy. Like, did he get subconsciously? Because I don't even know what that is. I kind of missed that. I don't know why he's having that dream. He must have slipped him a drug somehow. But I must have been writing notes or something when that happened. I don't remember
either.
But I don't know why he's having that dream. Did he get drugs in him on that scene? Because I always like sit there and write down notes and then look back up, and I miss stuff sometimes.
I don't remember, honestly. I don't remember that. I don't remember him getting drugged at that point. I thought he was drugged later on, because he just kind of wakes up. He's in his car, like he's about to leave.
Yeah. I think that he just has a nightmare.
I think so too.
I don't think he's drugged.
I don't think so either. We could be wrong, but I think he
The
just
reason I don't think that he's drugged is because the only reason he would be drugged is if he was drugged by the evil doctor.
yeah.
And the evil doctor would be like whispering suggestive stuff into his ear,
Right.
suggestions, so that he would kill himself. Right. And even though he like
Versus
breaks out of it, the doctor's nowhere around and he was never in danger. He was just like asleep behind his wheel.
yeah.
Right. So like to me, the other guys are manipulated while, drugged.
Yeah.
And that's what makes them die, because they think they see Harris or whatever, and so they're scared into like falling into the fan or whatever. But with Alex, he just has a dream.
Yeah.
So I think he just has a nightmare, and everyone else has been drugged by the doctor. So that's what makes sense to me. But anyways, getting back to the point of that, if when he kills the doctor and he's like going nuts, I was like, cool. I really want to see where this is going.
I know.
And so when he wakes up and it's not real, it's like, oh, that's annoying.
Yeah.
Same thing with Cynthia. She jumps off the roof and she like hits the ground, and you're like, oh wow, she's dead. And I thought we were seeing like her afterlife.
I did too.
And like where the cult was, and it was gonna suggest kind of ambiguously, like, was the cult like right?
Real, yeah, that's what I thought too.
And are we seeing like, is it gonna be like, I thought the way it was gonna end was we're gonna kind of see her go to the hereafter with her cult, and then it was gonna like pan back to her dead on the street and kind of fading, and then it's gonna leave it open for interpretation of like, is that what she's seeing before she dies, because she's like hallucinating from like the DMT that's being like pushed into her body when you die? It's DMT, right?
Yeah.
And then, or is it she's actually seeing really what she's going off to be with in the afterlife?
Yeah.
But of course, it does not go that way.
So did you think, because I guess like I was saying like the cult's real, and obviously in this like the doctor is the one that's feeding them drugs, but I still got the sense that like I still felt like there was some like supernatural element. I don't know if it was just the drugs. And I think it's interesting because maybe it was just the drugs and the manipulation of the doctor. But the fact that everybody, like, I don't know what his name in this, but Chainsaw, like what he says to her.
Yeah. Ralph.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Ralph. What he says to her he says it to her. He's talking about like unity and stuff. Like, it just seems weird that he would be talking to her about it.
But he knows what her cult's called.
Mm.
Right, like they're all very aware. I mean, she's been in a coma for 13 years. Yeah. Like everyone knows her story. Plus, they've talked about it in groups. So he's drugged out of his mind. And when he stabs his hand through the knife and just kind of stares at it, very like
so like gnarly,
blasé. That's a really effective scene. And then he's like cutting up his arm and he's doing all that stuff. And then he like stabs himself with the scalpels and like cuts his stomach open and all that stuff. That's great stuff. Now, you could argue that this is not a slasher, but like this is a supernatural slasher to me for sure.
Yes.
But yeah, you've got, oh man, another scene that really hit me wrong was the like older couple and the woman's like basically like, the only reason I have sex with you is to like validate or justify why I hate myself.
Yeah, that was awful.
That was like, and he was like, I'm here for it. Like he didn't care. He just wanted to get laid.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh my God, that's legit one of the worst things I could ever imagine a woman saying to me.
It's gross and very toxic relationship.
Like basically, I hate myself and I don't know why, or like I don't feel like comfortable hating myself in my mind, but it makes it easier for me
because I'm
to accept that I hate myself, so that it's not it's like a chore to her
Yeah.
to like try to work against hating herself.
Right.
So she does something specifically to be like, this is why I hate myself.
Yeah, like, oh yeah,
Right?
it's because I sleep
It's
with
not
you.
why she hates herself, but it's an excuse
Yes.
so that she doesn't have to do the work to not hate herself.
Yeah.
And I was like, God damn, that's like laziness
Yeah.
and just spiteful,
Vindictive. Yeah.
That line really just was like, wow, you are a lazy garbage person.
Yeah. That was a tough scene for sure.
Yeah. And he was just so like
he didn't care.
Jolly, like, I just want to get laid. I don't
but
care.
It felt even worse though, because he was just like it literally doesn't matter to me that you don't like me or
Yep.
that whatever, like I'm just using you as well.
Sure.
Like that's gross. I did not like that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. He's just, for me, he's just kind of being a typical dude that's like, I want to get laid. I don't care what it costs. Right? Like is he selling himself short by doing something that is very like humiliating in a way or demonstrative?
It's like
towards his ego, but it isn't because he doesn't care.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
So is it horrible if he doesn't care at all? I don't know. We take it that way because I'm like, oh my God, if someone said that about me, I'd get all in my head about like how horrible.
Yeah.
But he doesn't give a shit.
No, he does not.
And if he doesn't care, then is it all that bad? Like, why should he care? He's just, if that's the way he wants to be, and he's just like, I just want to get laid. I can respect that. But like, I understand why you're put off by it.
Yeah.
And I understand why I'm put off by it. But if he doesn't care,
I guess it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
For him.
Right? Because she's not abusing him.
Well,
she's
they
abusing
are
herself.
kind of both emotionally abusing the other.
He's getting what he wants.
Yeah.
Right? And she's getting what she wants. And it hurts her more than him.
Yeah.
He just gets sex out of it.
That's true.
Right? And she's like, I hate myself.
Yeah.
Which is bad. And if anything, he should not sleep with her just because he's like, giving her a reason to hate herself.
Right. Like he should want to not be helping her.
Exactly. So I guess it's more he's the asshole for sleeping with her. But ultimately, he doesn't care.
Does not.
Nope. I mean, yeah, she cuts herself. She wants to go back to Unity. She is way messed up.
Yeah.
She is way messed up. Yeah, the burning scene is so screwed up. The way it's shot with like the flames going onto the people and then just lighting on fire, sitting there and screaming.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because it's always in those moments where those people have got to, I mean, I'm sure some of them are so committed. They're like, this is my martyrism, right? Like, this is my pain I have to take for my cause. And then other ones, it's kind of like the people who survived jumping to their death.
Sure.
That, like the majority of them always come out of it like, the second I jumped, I regretted it, right? As soon as your body lights on fire, I'm sure most of them were like, I shouldn't have done this. I was wrong.
But
it's too
burning
late.
Alive is one of the worst ways to die. Like,
at least it would be quick. It would be horrible,
dude,
but at least
you would still, you would be aware though for like enough time. Like you would know what was happening.
If you were fully engulfed in flames with an accelerant on your skin like gasoline, I can't imagine you could live more than like a minute.
Sure, but that would be excruciating because I think your adrenaline would probably keep you like aware for some period to be like, dude, like you're on fire, like put yourself out. But because your skin is your largest organ, I'm sure you would pass out like from the pain pretty quickly and then die very quickly after that. But it just, I don't know what the length of time is for death by burning, but it just sounds like the worst because you'd be smelling yourself.
There's not a lot of people who burn to death, and it's because the majority of people who die from like house fires and everything die of smoke inhalation before the fire ever even touches them.
Yeah.
Right? They're usually like asleep and they don't ever wake up, or they are awake and they're trying to get out of the house and they just keep coughing until they pass out, and then their unconscious body burns.
Yeah.
And you never feel it. So the majority of people who do die in fires do not die from actually getting caught on fire. Thankfully, they just kind of pass out. Which is, if you're going to die in a fire, you want to pass out. But I don't know. I don't know what the length of time. If you were covered in gasoline, you lit yourself on fire. I can't imagine you stay alive very long.
No.
You can't. I just can't imagine your body could stay alive for more than like a minute or so. But who knows? Maybe people have stayed alive for 5 minutes burning. But
awful.
It just seems like how could your body take it? I mean, every time we walk outside in Phoenix, I feel like my body is on fire.
Yeah, today.
Jesus, today it was hot.
It was so hot.
And the scene where they fall into the fan and it starts raining blood on everyone in the facility.
Yeah,
that was great. Dean Cameron, Ralph, he has a line, he has a scene in summer school where him and Dave have written a paper that has to be 100 words long, and it's on creature creator Rick Baker. And they say, we respect his work very, 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 and they say very like 40 times in a row to, fill that 100 word, minimum. And in this, there's a scene where he's like freaking out. It's right before he dies. And he says very, very, like probably 15 times in a row. And I was like, oh, he's back to his Rick Baker essay. I thought that was funny. He was like, funny. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was like, it's very, 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 very. And I was like, this guy loves saying very. Yeah. Oh, the funniest, and this is a scene, I'll try to see if I can edit it in here because it is the funniest scene in the movie 10 times over, bar none. One of the funniest scenes we've seen in a film for me in quite a while. And this is so the doctor gets revealed to be the killer. He goes over the edge. He's holding on to her. He finally, the freaking doctor stabbing into his hand with a hypodermic needle. The cop comes up on the ledge and he's like holding a gun on him and helps them up and whatever. And then the doctor like pulls a gun and he's like going to pretend to kill himself.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you're wrong again. And he like goes to shoot Alex, and Cynthia pushes him off the ledge because she like for a second sees Harris.
Yeah.
And she pushes him off the ledge, right? So like typically in movies, cops are like, no, wait, or like,
right.
They get like defensive because they're like, that's illegal or whatever.
Yeah.
Dude, this scene is so funny.
God.
He straight up, she pushes him off the roof, kills the killer right in front of the cops, just like, no, and pushes him. And the guy's just like, he literally just goes.
He shrugs.
He just shrugs and turns around and walks away.
Wrong again, Alex.
No! It's so funny.
So good.
It was so funny. And even like before that, when he walks up, he's very like nonchalant. Yeah. He's like, what's going on here? He says something like that. And it's just like, there's no sense of urgency or like, people are hanging off the side of the building. Like, yeah, it was really funny. It was like, very, very humorous. I don't care about no white
people problems.
It was really funny.
White people be pushing each other off buildings. Whatever. Yeah, that got me. That got me pretty good. Just, he straight up just shrugs his shoulders and he's like, and walks away. Yeah. That got me. Funny. That really got me. Amazing. Him saying I love you to her.
What? Yeah, I just like, dude, what? That's
Bro, that's like illegal.
It's like reverse Stockholm.
That's straight up like no, that's like against your, patient, doctor.
Yeah. The Hippocratic Oath.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, she's like mentally the only reason that he's into Cynthia is because she's beautiful.
Yes.
There is no other
He's-
reason he should be into her.
She's been awake for like a week.
And she's
Max, not even.
absolutely insane.
Yeah.
The whole time.
The whole time.
There's
she's
nothing.
crazy.
There's no chemistry
And he's
between
just like-
them. There's no like scenes where she like reveals her secrets to him and he sees like what a beautiful person she is under it
No.
all. He straight up is like, she's hot. She's a damsel in distress. I love her.
He's a super handsome man too, but yeah, I just like in this, if I don't know, if they were going for the romance, that definitely is not established and
did
it
not
just
work.
doesn't work. But at least it's just kind of like at the end. I mean, you know that he's like clearly cares about her throughout because he's like very upset and everything.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's not a big part of the film, at least.
So there you go. Bad dreams.
dreams.
Yeah, I mean, if I can get my hands on a copy of I'd like to cover Visiting Hours
Hmm.
on the channel as well for Slasher Sunday. It's one I would really like to revisit, so it'd totally be worth picking it up for that too. So if anyone has a line on a copy of that on Blu-ray in good condition for like $10 shipped, I would definitely pick it up. But it's like 20 right now, and I'm like, my bad. My VHS is fine. It looks good.
It's good.
I don't need it. But if I can get a deal on it, I'll definitely pick it up. So, anyways, that's that. We're gonna move on. Thanks for joining us. Anything more?
Nope.
All right, guys.
That's all. Bye.
All right. Refresh it.
It's
Mine's
like
still green. How's
6:40.
yours? Yep. I think my voice level is good.
I don't